Hi community of awesome, I'm Ava J and this is Bookish Pixie. So I recently finished reading Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo, which is the last book in the Grisha trilogy, and it really got me thinking about strong secondary love interests. Now technically in the Grisha trilogy, or at least in the last two books, Siege and Storm and Ruin and Rising, there's technically a love square. Now on one end there's Alina, the protagonist, and Mal, her best friend. Mal is the primary love interest. Usually in a love triangle there's a protagonist, the primary love interest, and the secondary love interest. The first love interest is the Darkling, who's the antagonist, and the second is Nikolai Lantsov. Now what's pretty cool about the secondary love interests in the Grisha trilogy is by the end of the trilogy I was actually rooting more for the secondary love interest than I was for the primary love interest. So by the end of Ruin and Rising, I was kinda hoping Alina would get with either the Darkling or Nikolai. Why? Because they were really strong secondary love interests. Nikolai and the Darkling are both strong characters in their own right, and their reason for existing is not solely to be a love interest. Both Nikolai and the Darkling had equally important roles in the plot that had absolutely nothing to do with whether or not they got romantically involved with Alina. That's a really big point to me, because it got me to like them for them, rather than just because they were potential love interests. The second point is both Nikolai and the Darkling had memorable personalities. Now if you read the book, you know that the Darkling and Nikolai are memorable for entirely different reasons. The Darkling is crazy powerful with a really cool ability and a mysterious, secretive past, and he's sexy, and basically he's a badass. Nikolai, meanwhile, is funny, smart, sarcastic, confident, and strategic, and he has a different kind of power even though he doesn't have any supernatural abilities. He's memorable for his abundance of one-liners and because he's a good person. So basically on the total opposite end of the spectrum from the evil Darkling. The third point that made them strong secondary love interests is throughout the course of 3 books we actually see ways that they're better for Alina than the primary love interest Mal. The Darkling gets Alina's dark side. He understands the extent of her abilities and her want for power. When she feels guilty for loving her Grisha abilities and wanting more, he understands completely. And that's something Mal can't understand because he's not a Grisha. Nikolai, meanwhile, is a great strategic choice for Alina. He teaches her a lot about political power and how to hold herself as a leader. She learns a lot of important lessons from Nikolai, and to boot, she actually really likes him. In this way, he's actually better for her than Mal because Mal doesn't have that political power that she needs in the last book, and he doesn't really understand the rules of court. Now, neither of those things are Mal's fault, and there are plenty of reasons why he's the best choice for Alina. What I really found interesting was throughout the series, I was more drawn to the secondary love interests because they were so strong. And that's something that I think really solidified the awesome love square in the Grisha trilogy. And it can be a great lesson for writers who want to learn how to write strong secondary love interests in their love squares or triangles or pentagons or whatever. So next time you start drafting up love interests for your manuscript, make sure that all of your characters are equally strong choices. That way when readers start agonizing over your love interest options, you'll know you have a really strong love triangle or whatever else on your hands. So that's it for today. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and comment, and I will see you guys next week.